Testing. 1, 2. All right. I'm gonna assume that I'm live. Welcome in, everybody. It is Friday evening. May depend upon where you are in the world, but there we go. So welcome in. We're gonna go ahead and just start talking about a little bit of what's happening in the markets. We've got people freaking out about what's happening in the stock market. Is the AI bubble popping? We have obviously crypto going through a slide right now that's got a lot of people concerned. And then hopefully that echo went away. Let me know if you still hear an echo. And then we have, I know what it is. Yeah, you guys do still feel it. Okay. Now you should be good. So look, we've got the equities market making a slide. Everybody's freaking out, and be honest, like it's really not that big of a deal over there. We have crypto sliding as well. Also, let's be real, we've been up very, very elevated for the year and over the past couple of years. Now, altcoins have been struggling, so we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll also talk about some traditional finance adoption and some things that we've been seeing going on over the past week here. We also had the XRP ETF go live, and that was a pretty big deal as well. It literally had the highest trading volume of any ETF this year. Okay, so I thought that was pretty fascinating. But anyways, if you're here with me on a Friday night, you are a real one. I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there right now. So I see, what up, Waffle Fry? Still echoing. I think you guys are saying it's good. What's up, Terry Harrison? Totally awesome. Jay Ghost. Dante Massey. All right, let me know if it's still echoing. I'm not sure. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and dive into some of this real quick. Pull up what I got for you guys. So one of the things that's been going on over the past week is that we also got some news about getting some economic data from the government, which is a pretty big deal. Obviously, we just had the shutdown end. So that's going to allow us to start getting some economic data back. We haven't been getting CPI, I believe. We haven't been getting unemployment for almost, I think, 2 months now. And so we're going to need that. And I think the big thing that we're about to get is that unemployment data. So government will release September jobs report next week, ending the data drought from the federal shutdown. So the Labor Department will release its numbers on September hiring and unemployment next Thursday, a month and a half late, marking the beginning of the end of a data drought caused by the 43-day federal government shutdown. Now, they had to break the record. They really had to do that. That was a part of just a mandate. You know, we had to create the longest shutdown in government history, and then we come to an agreement just to make history. So anyways, so this economic data coming in is going to be a really big deal because right now everyone's shooting in the dark. As Jerome Powell said at the last Fed meeting, you know, what do you do when you're driving in the fog? You slow down. And so the Fed hasn't known exactly what they're going to do with rates. Speaking on that, let's look at what's happening on the FedWatch tool. So the FedWatch tool is from the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And the idea is trying to get an idea of what is going to happen at these FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee meetings. Are we going to get a cut in rates? And this is based upon the actual market itself, right? These are traders actually betting on whether or not we will get a rate cut at, for instance, this December 10th meeting. Now, as it stands, right, this has been changing over time. We've had it go from the so first off, you can see up here, the current target rate is 375 to 400. Okay, so that's the current target rate for the federal funds rate in the United States. Now, there's now a 55.6% chance that that rate is going to stay the same after the December 10th meeting versus a 44% chance that we actually get a 25 basis point cut. Basis points are 1/100th. 1 basis point is 1/100th of a percent. Now, when we look at how this has changed over time based on over here, we can see that right now the chance of a 25 basis point cut is 44.4%, whereas yesterday it was at 50%. And then a week ago, it was at 67%. And a month ago, it was a 94% chance that we were going to get another 25 basis point cut in the December meeting. So as it stands, right, we've actually been getting to where it's less likely that we're going to get a cut in the federal funds rate. Now, why is that the case, right? That's the real question. Why is it likely that we are going to keep rates the same? So, first off, let's see. I see you guys are okay. So, the major thing that we want to think about is Stephen Myron, I believe is what we're saying his name is, has come into the Fed, and the idea being that he potentially wants to get rates lowered. Now, what I've heard is that something around Trump saying, oh, maybe we don't actually need rates that much lower anymore. Maybe we actually can just keep them the same. Thing is if you keep cutting rates and the economy is not as bad as we think it is, right? So we don't really have the unemployment data, so we don't know for sure what's going on. But if you cut rates and the economy is not doing all that bad, then what can happen is we can spark inflation back up again. And if we get inflation coming back up again, then all of this effort that they put in by trying to lower rates is actually going to put us in a way, way, way worse position. Okay. So what the government and the Federal Reserve, rather, is trying to manage here, what they're trying to balance here is making sure that if they lower rates, it doesn't lead to inflation. But at the same time, we've got a ton of job loss that we saw earlier this year. And the point of obviously lowering rates is to get businesses to borrow more money and spur investment and put that money into the economy, hiring people. Now, we talked about this on Memes and Markets for anybody who has been around. And if you have not been around on Memes and Markets, subscribe to Memes and Markets. The link is in the description of this video right now. Subscribe to Memes and Markets. We talk about this stuff in real time. And the thing that I was thinking about is, well, what if lowering interest rates as a way to spur investment in the economy could actually lead to more job loss? I haven't heard anyone say that, right? So maybe I'm missing something. You guys can let me know what I'm missing, what I'm not thinking about. But in my mind, if what companies are doing right now is taking their money and investing into AI, then couldn't lowering interest rates actually increase the amount of investment that these companies are making into AI and not into people, right? That, to me, sounds like what could be happening. And now it's like, okay, wait a minute. Wait, whoa. Do not lower rates too fast, because if we lower rates too fast, then we're actually going to potentially make this unemployment problem even worse than what it is, right? Maybe not in the short term, but over the next 2 or 3 years, right? Because that's all this current administration is really worried about, right? They just want to make sure that they get the next 2 to 3 years right, so that by the time they're done, everybody's like, yes, you did a great job. You got the best records on stat ever, right? And this is not a current administration specific thing. This is something that goes on for every cycle that we have, okay? But I just wanted to think about that real quick. What do you guys think about that? Is that a crazy idea that lowering interest rates to spur investment into the economy could actually accelerate the unemployment getting higher? Because these companies take that money and they don't just invest it into hiring new people, but instead they invest it into AI. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm missing something. You guys let me know. Okay, so let's see. Why are we discussing things we can't control again? I think it's more a matter of getting an understanding of what is actually going on. What is actually going on? Because we're being fed narratives left and right. Okay, so what I'm concerned about is behind the narrative, what's actually going on. If you want to talk about what we can control, well, that's going to be your emotions. Sounds like you're coming from one of those places to me personally. And also what you're going to do with your money. And most of the time, I'm going to be honest, what do you do with your money based upon what's happening in the news cycle? Anybody have some guesses of what I'm going to do with my money based upon what's happening in the news cycle? To be honest, very little, right? But what I am going to do is I'm going to keep looking at what's going on behind the scenes. I'm going to look at what's happening with the Treasury General account. I'm going to look at what's happening on chain if it's crypto, and I'm going to make decisions based on that. But I'm going to know what the narrative is, right? Because what I think gets under thought about when it comes to how to think about what's happening in markets is like if you don't know what the narrative is, then you can get caught off guard when things don't go your way. And you can get on the other side, right? So, matter of everybody's asking for book recommendations all the time. You guys want a book recommendation? Give me a second. I'll give you a book recommendation. I'm about to move, everybody, so I don't have all my books behind me anymore. I'm gonna have to ebook it. Book recommendation: Market Wizards by Jack Schwager. Okay, and this is, I think, the first one. I don't even know, but I think there's a couple of these. So, anyways, the reason I pulled this out is because you made me think about it, my guy, Tesla Tekka. Let's talk about it real quick. Because when it comes to what's happening in the markets and what can I do about it, there was a really cool interview. And so this is a book of interviews of some of the top traders, investors in the world. And he asked them, what's their sauce? Give me the sauce, right? So let me tell you what's one of my favorite interviews in here was. If we go to, I think his name is James B. Rogers. Let me find James B. Rogers. James B. Rogers Jr. Anybody heard of James B. Rogers Jr. before? James B. Rogers Jr. is the right-hand man of a guy who you might have heard of called George. His first name is George. His last name is Soros, okay? And he had some really cool words to say, and I just kind of related to something that you brought up there, because it's not always about like, oh, what can I do right now? Or why are we talking about stuff that we can't do anything about? Well, let's talk about what we can know and how we can use that information to influence our decision making. So the cool thing about what James B. Rogers said, so let me just read a little bit of an excerpt from this. So James B. Rogers Jr., buying value and selling hysteria. Jim Rogers began trading in the stock market with a paltry $600 in 1968. One of my favorite things that I learned from this book was how markets have fundamentally changed over time. And when I say that, I don't mean like markets aren't markets, because markets are markets. But what I'm saying is the way that they would take advantage of opportunities in the market is very different from how you do it now. Like you had much more volatility. You had much less professionalism in the markets and you didn't have any algorithms. You know what I'm saying? Like in the markets that you're competing against. Nowadays you do. And with that, you have to be a little bit more algorithmic. These guys, they could just like have some ideas like, oh, I think this is undervalued. I think it'll go up, and just put on a trade and leave it for 3 months and it'll do well based upon real fundamentals. Nowadays, things don't really work on fundamentals in that same kind of way. So instead, we've got to, in fact, this is back to my point. You actually have to know what people are thinking. You have to know what the sentiment is, because that, unfortunately, is a lot of what drives the actual movements in the markets today, is what's in the headlines. And when we look back to March, when we look back to April of earlier this year, guess what? I wrote a little bit of a memo where the markets were tanking, and I called it. I called it right then. I said, this is the end of that, because what happens from this point forward? Let me read some of this stuff, because it's going to actually point out what I'm trying to get at. So, all right. Okay. So Jack Schwager asked him, it sounds like you have a great deal of conviction when you put on a trade. This is to James B. Rogers, the right-hand man of George Soros. These guys together had a day where they made over $1 billion in one day. All right. I have a whole video on this on my channel, but it's called, I don't even know what it's called. Look at it. So it sounds like you have a great deal of conviction when you put on a trade, says Jack Schwager. James B. Rogers Jr. replies, yes, I usually do. Otherwise, I don't bother doing it. One of the best rules anybody can learn about investing is to do nothing. Absolutely nothing. Unless there's something to do. Most people, not that I'm better than most people, always have to be playing. They always have to be doing something. They make a big play and say, boy, am I smart. I just tripled my money. Then they rush out and have to do something else with that money. They can't just sit there and wait for something new to develop. Now, he's not just sitting there and doing nothing. All right. He's sitting there and he's taking in data. He's taking in information about what is going on in the news, in the markets, and where can he find asymmetries where there's information that's not being reported. Okay, that's information that's not being understood or interpreted in the right way, even. Right. So this is another thing. Everyone, what do you do when there's nothing to do? You read books. You read books, and you start to form your worldview, because then the information that you're taking in, everybody's got the same information. The question is, how are you interpreting that information? What are you doing with that information? Okay. So, anyways, uh, what's another quote here from this guy? Oh, I love this. Oh, this is such a great interview. This whole section is fire. So, Jack Schwager asks, do you always wait for a situation to line up in your favor? Don't you ever say, I think this market is probably going to go up, so I'll give it a shot? James B. Rogers Jr. says, what you just described is a very fast way to the poorhouse. I just wait until there is money lying in the corner. And all I have to do is go over there and pick it up. I do nothing in the meantime. Even people who lose money in the market say, I just lost my money. Now I have to do something to make it back. No, you don't. You just sit there until you find something. Oh, and this is another part. He said, so Jack Schwager said, so trade as little as possible. James said, that is why I don't think of myself as a trader. I think of myself as someone who waits for something to come along. I wait for a situation that is like a proverbial shooting fish in a barrel. Okay, so yeah, just read this book. I won't keep doing this with you guys, but uh, it's a great book. And let me know in the comments or in the chat right now if you've ever read Market Wizards or any form of it. Let me see. Let me see what you guys are saying. Keith Diddy. Don't know what to make of that, my brother. Oh, I guess because Keith D. Uh, okay. We managed 200 million, and I still watch your vids, said host. My man. Super cool to hear that. High yield savings account, although it is important. Host, I'm super curious as to what asset class you're in. It's advertising rev and cloud rev. Although it is important, I don't focus on the red. I focus more on the technical analysis. So play it out. When everyone is unemployed and has no discretionary funds, who is buying anything from these companies? Things can get out of control very quickly. Correct. And I think what I'm afraid of is that when it comes to like getting people, improving the labor market, like what exactly is that going to look like? The tariff situation, for instance, has been generating revenues. And funny enough, we got a proposal, right, that maybe what he's going to do with that money is give it out to people, right? So give the tariff revenues back to the people. That could spur a little bit of economic activity as well, right? But obviously that doesn't solve the problem, right? Because that's a one-time thing. And the idea of like using tariffs the idea I imagine is use tariffs to get all of our manufacturing back on shore, right? Or any of our products in general. Try to bring all of the stuff that we're buying from other places back here and produce it here. That way, companies hire more people here. And now that sounds fantastic. It's definitely something that wouldn't happen overnight. And I don't know exactly how that's going. Ricky said, you think BTC has topped? All right, fine. Let's look at the charts. Do I think BTC has topped? Let me show you what I think. I think that that's possible. I do think that that's possible. I'll show you why I think that it's not necessarily very likely, though. The reason I think that it's not necessarily very likely is that we've got M2 continuing to push up. Now, one of the concerns that people have talked about is the liquidity crisis. Okay, and the repo, let me try to pull that up for you guys. Fed repo. reverse repo and repo. We just had a big injection. What was it? No. It was just a little bit ago, if I'm not incorrect. Maybe that's what I was talking about right there on October 31st. Why does that not feel right though? We had a big repo injection. This doesn't feel right. This is the reverse repo. No. We've had a little bit of a liquidity crunch in the system, right? And so money's coming out of the banking system. This right here is the Treasury General account from the Treasury. When this line is going up, it is essentially indicating that money in the banking system is coming out. The Treasury is raising money, and that money is not flowing back out of the system. Instead, well, it's not flowing back into the system. Rather, instead, this right here is a measure of the bank's balance sheets. Excuse me. The Fed's balance sheet there. Where is this? The bank's balance sheet. Let me get this right. Reserve balances at the Fed. Excuse me. So this is the bank's balance sheets, and as this is going down, this is essentially indicating the inverse of what we're seeing right here. Banks buying treasuries, the Treasury taking that money in, okay, and now the cash that banks have on hand is going down, okay, and we can see that this is a very low level. This goes back to 2023. How much money is in the banking system, how much money banks have on hand is coming down drastically. So we do have a concern here. Not having money, right, means that you can't take risks. In fact, you have to start to de-risk when you don't have money. So in this regard, Ricky, I would say we definitely have a little bit of a concern. Now, the truth of the matter is that when we have concerns in the market, we've had a very common response to those concerns. And quite honestly, we've been a little bit ahead of that at the moment, right? Like when we really pay attention to, oh, this has been such a crazy year. Let's play out what has actually happened this year, right? So, January, we get a new president. Whole lot to talk about there. But I will point out, because a lot of you here are obviously here for crypto. Come on now, talk to me. We had a crypto president coming into office. Okay, that was the first thing that happened, and I think that was actually like really important. If you really paid attention, like one of the first executive orders that he signed was, hey, we're going to bring in a digital assets working group, and this is going to be something that we sprint forward from this point on. And boy, did we get that. Okay, so we've got a pro-crypto president elected and put in office. We also have a pro-trade war or protectionism president in place right there. So we get a couple of months to let this guy do all of the social stuff, because that's really what he focused in on. He still put that bill, right? He still put that executive order, in place on crypto, but he went, all right, let me get all this social stuff figured out. All right. He went hard on that. And let's be honest, people did not like it. Now, as he was doing that, he was like, oh, okay, let's cut spending in the government. You had him and his guy, Mr. Musk, coming together to cut expenses in the government. Now, as they did that, let's pull up the Doge counter. They were apparently making some sort of progress, right? Like they were telling us that they were making progress and starting to cut government expenses and government waste, fraud, and abuse. So let me pull this up real quick. Let's see, because I really haven't checked on this in a minute. So apparently they were trying to cut, what was it like? What was the initial goal? Let me see what the initial goal was. What was the initial Doge goal. I think it was like to cut 3 trillion or something crazy like that. An initial savings goal of 2 trillion was then lowered to 1 trillion after being downgraded again to 150 billion, less than 1/10 of what it was. And this is back in April that this article came out, right? So at first they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna cut $2 trillion worth of money off of the budget," right? And then what happened? They started to realize that first off, there was going to get massive resistance on that, right? Like people were not going for that. We had an all-out internal government war. They were like, "No, you're not going to cut the spending." We don't have to know why that was. We don't know why that was. All right, we're not going to speculate on that. But we did get this idea that it was like, okay, I got to cut the spending, and that's not going to happen. There's people who are relying upon this for their jobs. There are people that are relying on this for the future of their investments that they're going to make. And this is going to potentially, the thing is, when you cut government spending, well, GDP, right, is it involves and includes government spending. So let me just go ahead and make sure I get this right. I didn't study economics, everybody, so I don't have this stuff off the top of my head, right? So GDP formula. The GDP formula, right? So consumption plus investment plus government spending, and then the difference between your exports and your imports is what this all stands for. So consumption equals C, so people spending money in the economy, investment being businesses investing in the economy, the G being government spending, and then exports minus your imports. So now, with that being understood, when you cut government spending, when you cut the G, you're going to get a lower GDP. And when you get a lower GDP, what ends up happening is you are literally by definition slowing the economy down by not spending money in the economy. Governments spend money on all kinds of stuff, right? So government expenditures can be on infrastructure. It can be on obviously things like healthcare is the largest expense besides defense. I believe is now the largest defense. And then you've got the interest payments. My guy Dunk in the community, who is one of our analysts in the community, he always points out largest budget items, federal government. So let's see if we can find his graphic that he always gives us. This isn't the one, but it's still the same idea. So let's see. Does it have? No, dude. I need this. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I want to see it vertical because it's just like way better when you can see it vertical. But the thing here is this. Right now, if you wanted to cut spending in a meaningful way, the biggest categories are going to be Social Security. Well, national defense. Okay, 13% of all of the budget, of the yearly budget. The government has a budget at the beginning of every year, or Congress, right, creates the laws to say what is the government's budget going to be for the year. And you've got income security as 10%, national defense at 13%, and this is from 2024. Medicare at 13%. So these are some of the largest expenses. Now, these things are mandated by Congress, right? The thing about what Doge was trying to do is that when Congress sets a budget for the year, that is by law, right? What is supposed to be done. But what ends up happening here is that the president is going to try to come in and what he did was he tried to work his way around the law. But you can't really just, once Congress signs something in the law, that is what the budget is. So to cut anything from what Congress has said is the budget is going to be a really difficult thing to do. I need to take a second to look at this chat because I asked some questions and I really want to see what the answers to some of those were. Okay, bing bong. Bing bong. All right. Point here is you can't really cut something that was already mandated by law with an executive order, right? This is the whole point of the checks and balances that you're supposed to have in a democratic republic. Congress sets laws, and the executive branch can, it can veto laws. Okay, but that's not what point we were at, right? Like the budget had already been in place, and you're trying to cut back from the budget that's already been passed as law, and that's going to be really difficult to do. As we saw, a lot of that stuff didn't hold up in court. Uh, Elon Musk and all of them, they said failed mission. We failed. Now, the other big thing that we have to keep an eye on here when it comes to uh, the budget for every year is this net interest expense. Okay, this is the thing that Dunk always points out inside the community. He points out, hey, 13%, right? One of the highest expenses of all of the budget is just the interest payments that the government needs to make on its debt, right? Which has now gotten up to $38 trillion this year. I'm realizing, by the way, that I screwed this up. So Social Security is 22%. So that's the largest thing on here. With net interest being tied for second place. By the way, that is crazy. If as a household, let's make this an analogy. As a household, let's say you wanted to think about your budget. If your second largest expense in your household, like after your rent, after food, you have to account for rent, food, anything else, transportation, everything. If your second largest expense is the interest that you're paying on your credit card, you are in a very, very bad position, right? And so this is the position that the US government is in, to where its second largest expense is how much it's paying on debt. Now, I think we had this guy that was like, uh, what does this mean, right? Like, what does this matter at all? And the truth is that this is going to determine things like interest rates. This also determines the demand for U.S. Treasuries. This all obviously has determined, okay, if we're paying close attention, everybody, this has determined, oh, I'm not even sharing my screen. I was supposed to be sharing my screen, guys. Forgive me, I'm new to this. This is going to determine our strategy as a country in the United States, which is, how am I going to create more demand for U.S. Treasuries? And what have we seen take place? We have seen the U.S. government create this whole stablecoin narrative. Like, oh, well, let's just rush the Genius Act out. Let's get these laws passed. And maybe this can boost some demand for at least a short-term treasury. Does that really fix the long-term treasury problem? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. But at least the short-term treasuries we can find some demand for. And if we can do that, then we can keep those short-term rates a little bit lower, and hopefully that can have an impact on long-term rates as well. So, anyways, I got super caught up. So okay, Doge, failed experiment. Really promising idea, right? Like, let's cut all of the government spending. Okay, but that could lead to a recession for one, and second, people aren't going to let that happen anyways. Now, we move on from that, and then what do? We start really going hard on this trade war thing in April. So April comes around, we have the president come out and announce his trade, I don't even know what to call it, his trade plan, I guess. And it was harsh. It was like 50% tariffs on everybody. He dropped the hammer and he was like 50% tariffs on everything. And, hey, my idea in my head, I'm like, okay, that sounds crazy, right? But if he starts there, then he can negotiate that back, right? Okay, so maybe that's the goal here. We're going to go super high and then walk it back and like try to make a deal. So anyways, that obviously tanked the markets. People were like, oh, this is going to be terrible. This could be extremely inflationary. This could end up taking a lot of people's jobs away. And quite frankly, like, apparently I say it all the time. And honestly, that happened. That did happen because it increased so much uncertainty that the larger firms, they had to say, oh, I'm not playing this game. I'm going to cut back. I'm going to start getting voluntary, what do you call it? Voluntary firing. Like when you say someone, "Hey, I'll give you some money so that you can go and find something else to do." Okay, it's a little silent fire, right? It's like I don't have to report this as I fired you, but take this money and go do something else because I'm not sure that I'm going to need you anymore or that I'm going to be able to pay you based upon the fact that we've got higher rates or excuse me, higher prices that we're going to have to pay for everything. Okay, fast forward. Fast forward. That also was like I don't know if this is really going to work out for you. And then what do? We start to back some of this stuff down. We start to cut some deals with some countries. People are coming to the table. We got the UK in. We did a big tech deal. We got I think we did something with Saudi. We got Vietnam did a deal, I think it was, and then Japan did a deal. And hey, like deals are being made. Now we get to Octoberish, and we've got China saying, "Hey, yo, by the way, buddy, like I'm not playing this game with you." Apparently, like there was this moment where it was like, did Xi and Trump even talk? Like Trump was saying, "Yeah, we chatted," and then Xi was like, "Nah, we didn't talk actually. Like we haven't even talked yet." It's like, whoa, 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 what's going on here? Okay, and so I'm trying to lay all of this out because in between all of this, what's been happening with the crypto market, right? Obviously we had laws get passed. We had this talk about having a strategic reserve in place. And when we got that strategic reserve, or excuse me, when when he mentioned that, uh market was going crazy. And this was technically, way back. It was in just like March. So as all this stuff is happening, that was in the background. We had the strategic crypto reserve. We had mentioned Cardano, XRP, and Solana. And then, oh, by the way, my bad, Bitcoin and Ethereum as well. Okay, cool. So now we have to that kind of gets walked back. It's like, oh, we don't know for sure if we're going to do that. The main thing that we're going to do here is we're going to just not sell the crypto that we have. Oh, okay, gotcha. So this isn't really like going out and acquiring new Bitcoin. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent kept saying, well, technically, like, um, we could try to find budget neutral ways to go and acquire that Bitcoin. And by the way, that conversation has just been like sidelined. Like, we don't know. I haven't seen any updates on that. I don't know if you guys have seen any updates on that, but I haven't. And so I'm like, okay, so what's going on with that? Meanwhile, what's been going on? We've got ETFs getting dropped left and right. Okay, we've got an HBAR ETF. We've got an XRP ETF that just came out this past week. Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but that XRP ETF was the top traded ETF for the year. We're not talking about crypto ETFs. We're talking about the top traded ETF that was launched this year. So, anyways, this is a lot of stuff going on. So let's look at the crypto market for you guys. Because I think that's where everyone's so concerned right now. I'm like, look, I don't think it's over. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't. I don't. I don't. I don't. I don't. In fact, I've been calling inside my community. If you guys you click the link in the description, you can join the free community and just see some of my thoughts and stuff and just chat, trying to learn what your guys are thinking about. But guys, I've been calling this out for a minute. I've been calling out this exact level right down here for a minute, guys, for months. Okay, I said we're not going higher until we take out this $98,000 level. I've had this little graphic here drawn out for quite some time. We'll see if we get that response back up. But I'm not fazed by this. In fact, I was waiting for this. I've been waiting for this. Okay, so now, is the bull market over? Potentially. It's still potentially the truth. I'm not physically positioned for that. Full transparency. So if I'm wrong, then I will be wrong. But when it comes to looking at the way that this market has played out, I mean, it's just been horrific. Like, look at Ethereum. Ethereum came up, made a new all-time high, and just immediately faded that. So if you are going to see an altcoin season, then, it's early. Now, someone said, look at Zcash. Oh my goodness. If you haven't already, check out Memes and Markets. Click the link in the description to subscribe. We go live and we talk about stuff like this as it's happening. In fact, on Thursday, we actually ended up putting out an episode about Zcash. It's a very good episode. In fact, it's a fire episode because we talk about how this technology actually works and why it's so important. So if you're not familiar with what a zero knowledge proof is or why this could actually be happening based upon the underlying technology and the solution that it provides, go and watch our episode on Zcash on memes and markets. And that link is in the description of this video. Now, can you react to aggressive Jonkler Funk? What is that? Okay, anyways. So Zcash, to me, guys, is giving us a signal of what's actually possible in this market, period. Because we haven't seen a lot of strength from any altcoins. Like nothing in the altcoin market has done this. And at a certain point, you get to where it's like, okay, well, Bitcoin is literally the only thing. All the Bitcoin maximalists have been 100% right this time. Okay, like period. Up until Zcash just did what it did, like all the Bitcoin maximalists were just right, just objectively. no, no altcoin season, no nothing. It's Bitcoin only. Shout out to Benjamin Cohen. Shout out to all those guys that are straight Bitcoin maximalists. They've been winning this whole time. Now, Zcash, right? The concern. Let's talk about what the concern is. And I actually saw Charles Hoskinson. He just put out a really cool chat this evening. Shout out to Charles Hoskinson. What an amazing guy. He put out a chat this evening where he talks about how you choosing to sell your crypto is opting into the system that has enslaved you. He calls it like a Stockholm syndrome kind of thing. Now, stick with me for a second because this is actually going to make sense. If, right, what's happening with Bitcoin is that these institutions are coming in and buying it up, and countries, right, are buying it up or at least holding it and accumulating and seizing Bitcoin. Oh, we got to talk about that. Oh my goodness. We got to talk about this, y'all, because China has accused the US of orchestrating a $13 billion Bitcoin hack. By the way, I don't know if you guys saw that. So China's cybersecurity agency accused the American government of orchestrating the theft of about $13 billion worth of Bitcoin, representing China's most recent attempt to attribute major cyber attacks to the US. The theft of 127,000 Bitcoin tokens from the Lubian Bitcoin mining pool that took place in December 2020 ranks as one of the largest crypto heists in history. The hack is likely a state-level hacker operation led by the US, according to Chinese National Computer Virus Emergency Response Center. Now, I bring this up because if what we're seeing is a world where governments and the largest financial institutions in the world are acquiring all of the Bitcoin and even going to the length of where they will hack to get that Bitcoin, then Bitcoin is not going to be the solution that everyone thought it was. Because now that money, that like sovereign money, is in the hands of these nation states. And if we have money in the hands of the nation states, then guess what? That dream is gone. Okay. And then Ben on Memes and Markets pointed out that Naval Ravikant had this beautiful quote where he said, Bitcoin is insurance against fiat. And Zcash is insurance against Bitcoin. Okay. So hopefully you understand what I'm trying to do here and how I tried to tie that together. Because Zcash, for anyone who I guess who just doesn't even know, is a privacy-preserving cryptocurrency. It uses zero-knowledge proofs in order to make sure that information is not necessarily revealed about the identity of the user. You can reveal your identity, but you don't have to. Whereas with Bitcoin, it's inherently there in the fact that your pseudonym is in the open. And that pseudonym, your wallet address, can be very easily linked to, for instance, your IP address. All right. Oh, you guys can't even see me. Oh, my camera's off. Oh, my goodness. Give me a second. Give me a second. Oh man. So Keith, your screen slimed. I don't even know what that means. So, anyways, give me a second so I can get this thing up. But the point is here that if you're going to get institutions and governments around the world buying Bitcoin, then it's not this freedom from the system. It's not. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But that's not what it is, ladies and gentlemen. So, in that situation, then we've got to have some alternative. And Zcash, okay, presents that potential alternative to that system. And so Zcash going up like this very massively in a random time like this, I don't think it's too random. I think there's a narrative around stablecoins coming into place, the potential for central bank digital currencies to being implemented. If you look at what's happening in the Eurozone, if you look at what's happening in the United Kingdom, they're not playing around when it comes to, oh man, who was it that just dropped that video today? Oh no, I think it was CoffeeZilla and someone else. Oh no. They were talking about how somebody dropped a video talking about how the country with the most arrests in the past year for tweets that were released. Let me let you guys guess what country in the world had the most arrests based upon social media posts. It's actually not that difficult of a question. It's the United Kingdom. It was like 12,000 arrests that happened in the past year because of social media posts. Now, I make that point because, quite honestly, we are moving into a world where things like that could become the standard. Now, this was where Charles Hoskinson, right, was pointing this out in his video that he put out tonight. His live streams are always fantastic. Always tap into his live streams. That's the future. And so what Charles was saying was just opt out and choose crypto, right? Opt out and choose Bitcoin. And I'm sitting here and I'm just like, I don't know if that logically makes sense to me. Like the problem, what's happening with Zcash right here makes logical sense to me, right? Because that is a potential actual opt out. But Bitcoin and regular crypto that's not privacy preserving technology doesn't necessarily fit the bill of opting out of the system because now the governments own the Bitcoin. So now, and let me like actually make that make sense because it's like, oh, well, what difference does it make that they own the Bitcoin, that they cannot, like control the Bitcoin per se? Well, that's also questionable. And when it comes to that hack, right, that mining pool, one of the largest mining pools in China, I imagine, getting hacked potentially by the United States government, like this technology is not as secure as like we're being told. All right. And so when it comes to thinking about, how do I say this? How do I say this politely? When it comes to thinking about choosing Bitcoin as a way to opt out from the system, I just personally don't believe that that's a real option. Like you're putting, because if you're saying, okay, we need to buy more Bitcoin or hold Bitcoin, well, they own all the Bitcoin and will continue to own more and more of it. And so in that situation, what you're going to get is a world where actually you're buying into an even worse version of that system. And you guys have heard me say this. This is my second biggest video on the channel is what they're not telling you about Bitcoin or whatever, what they're not telling you about crypto. What they're not telling you about crypto is that the majority of these Bitcoin is held by a very, very few hands. And we don't even know who these people are. We don't even know who Satoshi is. Yet we're supposed to believe that this is freedom money and that this is the new future of the world and it's going to be a rebellion against the system. It's like, who said that Bitcoin was not created out of that same system? That is definitively a non-zero chance. Definitively non-zero. And in fact, when you look at stuff and you look at where the underlying technologies of what Bitcoin is, it all came from the NSA. SHA-256 came from the NSA. I digress. Point being, that's why I think Zcash is going off. Hopefully that makes some sense, man. Waffle Fry said, guys, please check out Monero. It's what Bitcoin should have been. I actually believe it's a fork of Bitcoin. The IRS has a bounty out for information on how to trace a Monero transaction. Zcash is working with the White House and IRS, on the other hand. Keith, please check out Monero. So this comes back to the idea here again. I am a cynic, right? So I noticed that I think like Ben is a little bit more optimistic. I am extremely pessimistic. And how would I say, like, I don't believe that the governments of the world and the powers that be, if you must use that term, really necessarily have like freedom money in mind as like the end goal for the world. And because of that, I think that like the path to get this distributed ledger technology adopted does not look like freedom money. It just doesn't. So let's talk about the difference between Monero and Zcash. Is a little bit of what I can say. So you say Zcash is working with the IRS. Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Waffle Fry. That's a bonus as an investment for me. Let's look at XMR real quick. Oops. Okay, Monero is also pushing up. Let's be clear. Now, Monero is real, I guess, privacy money because the methods that they are using are not, it's not inherently giving you the option to reveal, right? The tracing of the transactions. And I'm not like an expert in these privacy tokens. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Okay. Monero had half its network taken over by Cubic not too long ago, so it's a liability. Is Keith long Zcash? If Keith was long Zcash, he would have been long Zcash before. I'm gonna be real. Definitely not at the top. But for Monero, right? Like I think it has less of a case because and this is not like from, I'm not saying as an investment perspective. What I'm saying is I think it has less of a case as from an adoption perspective. Are people going to use this technology? I think Monero is going to be what all of the old heads call Bitcoin. And it's so funny how out of the loop people are, right? Like these old heads will talk about, and this is, listen, no disrespect to anybody. Bitcoin is what all the criminals use. And it's like, dude, like if criminals are using Bitcoin, then they ain't no good. They not very good criminals. Okay. Because Bitcoin is very traceable. Very, 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 very traceable. In fact, you have an immutable record attached to your name almost of what you did. So anyways, meanwhile, we've got Monero. Now, Monero may be what those people are talking about. And because of that, as we get closer into this world where we've got stable coins, we've got legislation in place, we've got the Clarity Act, and this stuff is being taken seriously by the establishment, they're not going to like Monero. And if Zcash is working with the IRS, you said, in the White House, then they're going to rock with that. They're going to push that. They're going to push that kind of technology. This is my own cynical viewpoint, guys, right? Like, you don't have to subscribe to me. In fact, you can disagree with me. I'd love to see your disagreements. I'm very open to that. Christo said that who Bro Zcash is actually made by. Once again, like if I'm an investor and I'm trying to think about what the future is going to look like, Christo, am I going to bet against that institution? Christo, I'm not going to bet against them. Waffle Fry said, my case for Monero is once IRS takes a person to court demanding you to hand over your Bitcoin, the outcome of that court case will affect the freedom of real money. Yeah. Yeah. That can absolutely happen. And in fact, we will need some sort of a level of, we will need some legal precedent to take place on how to handle those types of situations. So Dave said they own a lot of Bitcoin, but not all of it. Bitcoin is not a crime. Some people simply won't buy Bitcoin because they don't or cannot confirm who Satoshi is. Bitcoin's real value is its blockchain. I hear it. I hear it. Waffle Fry said the next thing will be your land, and I'm about dying for my land. Oh man. Oh man. Don't die for anything material, brother. But I do hear what you're saying. And then somebody else said something about Pablo C. You said, what's your point of view on bonds, treasuries next few years? Let's look at the US 30. The US 30 year yield, that is. Okay. Let me be honest. That trend is not pretty. Now it's slowed down, but it's not pretty. So I'm looking at the US, I'm looking at the 30-year treasury yield. I could look at the 30-year treasury itself. How do I get that to pull up? US 30-year. How do I get that? Well, I know how to get it as far as from the futures market. So I apologize, but I'm going to have to do it that way. So in the futures market, the 30-year, this is the price of the 30-year bond, whereas the US 30 yield is the yield of that bond, which these two things are going to move inversely. Why? If a bond is paying me at 4% today, and I buy a bond that pays me 4%, and the bonds that come out tomorrow are paying 5%, then the bond that I bought paying 4% has now gone down in value, right? Because now you can get the same 30-year bond at a higher interest rate. So when interest rates go higher, the price of the bonds that already exist go lower. Just wanted to point that out real quick. Now, when it comes to the 30-year yield, it's been on an absolute tear since when? 2020. Now, rates came down massively back here, obviously on the front end, which then affected the long end of the curve, where rates literally here went, oh my goodness, almost to zero on the 30-year. On the 30-year. That's something that I think, I haven't even really taken the time to break that and let that set in. The 30-year yield was at zero. And if the 30-year yield is at zero, ladies and gentlemen, that means that money is literally free. You're talking about 30 years into the future. I can borrow money for 30 years at a 0% interest rate. And I'm sorry, that's just crazy. So um I'm gonna definitely talk to what you just said there, Waffle Fry, because that's a cool um I love that statement or question. So 30-year yields so far have been continuing to rise. My favorite guy to listen to when it comes to this is Chim Karsong. Okay. He is awesome. It's funny that they have him as a content creator now, but he just started like going hard on that. Jim Carson is an options trader and he trades volatility and he has a really cool hedge fund. And he now does some actual media stuff where he has a podcast and everything. He's awesome. When you want to hear more about like in depths of the options market, how it works, talk to Chim Karsan. It's a Turkish name. That's why it's I can't say it properly. Okay, so 30-year yields. 30-year yields, I believe that they will continue to rise. I think inflation will continue to be a problem. I think that we're going to continue to live in that world where I think government debt in the United States continues to go higher. Finding demand for treasuries will be continuously harder. I think crypto will probably play some sort of a role in trying to fix that problem, but as it stands, rates go higher in my eyes. So I kind of want to back up for a second and start talking about something else, but I will respond to what you said on Waffle Fry. Waffle Fry said, if privacy is irrelevant, why have a shower curtain? I love that. Now, I don't think that privacy is irrelevant. I think that privacy exists on a spectrum. So let's use the shower curtain analogy. Some shower curtains have like a design on it, and uh it's like, it's fully matte out. Like you can't see anything through it. Other shower curtains have like it's just like plastic or whatever. And but it's like blurry. You can't fully see through it. And then you got like the shower curtain that's just like thin plastic. You can see right through that thing. You know what I'm saying? You can see right whatever's going on behind that thing. You know what I mean? And that kind of a shower curtain, right? Yeah, that probably is like irrelevant. It doesn't do anything for you. But the shower curtain that at least has some sort of a blur, the thicker plastic, or I don't know how that stuff works. I'm not a materials guy. Um, that has some value, but it doesn't really prevent, someone from, for instance, seeing if someone were looking in, seeing that shape, that figure, right? And that might be enough to identify a person, for an example. And I think that's kind of what Zcash does. Not literally, right? It's not literally that, but it's just, in fact, it just gives the person it gives everybody an option to be able to just pull the shower curtain if they want to, is really the better analogy to make. And so, with that being the case, I'm not even sure exactly what the statement was, but I love the question there. I love it, to think about that just from a philosophical perspective. Um, I would rather have the the shower curtain that's got the thicker material than the thin one. But that doesn't mean that I really believe that that's actually going to make a difference in the bottom line, or when push comes to shove, when Palantir, right, is deciding that they want your information, like they're going to get it. Um. So, anyways, what did you miss? Honestly, man, I've been ranting about all kind of stuff. Let's see. Waffle Fry said crypto is showing us that the power of the court is greater than the Constitution, freedom, and justice. What do rights matter at that point? Who needs privacy? Yeah, no, I guess I'm on your side then. Yeah, Waffle Fry says Zcash is the illusion of privacy. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely on your side with that. Um, Cross Central has been listening to what I say, and I really appreciate that. Quint Quintessential said, Keith, we need a psycho shower curtain for Larry Fink. I don't know exactly what you mean by that, but I'm with you. Michael Collins said, opt-in privacy is a meme. All those private transactions can be determined because all the others are public. Yeah, I personally, guys, like I really don't know the actual specifics of Zcash or Monero. Um, I can speak to the basics of zero knowledge proofs and the concept and how it can be used. But that's about it. The actual functions of what you're saying there, the opt-in privacy. That's a term I honestly haven't really heard before, but I like it. I like it as a concept to understand. Opt-in privacy is a system where a user makes a clear affirmative action to give permission before a company can collect, use, or share their personal data. This requires explicit consent, such as ticking an unchecked box, and provides greater user control compared to opt-out privacy, where consent is assumed by default unless a user actively takes steps to withdraw it. Opt-in is considered the higher standard for data privacy and is required by regulations like the EU's GDPR. So opt-in privacy is a joke. What do you mean by that then? Group B said, Keith D, you should make beats. You must not know me. The classic Psycho movie. Oh, dang. Yeah, I'm not a movie guy. I'm sorry, quintessential, I guess is what that's, you know what I mean? Thank you, Rowlib Bobs. I'm definitely still working on it. Definitely working on it. So anyways, guys, I think I've kind of ranted a little bit. The only other thing that I did want to talk about with you is these XRP ETFs. So let me pull up what I can about that real quick. Okay. Let's talk about this real quick because this was very interesting. So, Canary XRP ETF, the first spot ETF that XRP has had, nets record trading volume of all ETFs launched this year. So, while cryptocurrencies had a rough day on Thursday, Canary's XRP ETF had a record debut. So, the price of crypto and price of this ETF, by the way, also, I forgot what the ticker is. What is the ticker? Oof. Okay, XRPC. The price of this ETF did go down over the day, right? But the volume was going crazy. How does the price go down when the volume goes up? Well, because people are buying and selling it. Okay. Canary Capital's Canary XRP ETF launched Thursday, saw record volume. The fund trading on NASDAQ under the ticker XRPC, could have just read it there, registered a 58.5 million in volume on its first day. Eric, by the way, guys, is a great person to follow in the crypto space. He's a senior ETF analyst for Bloomberg. He literally is well on top of all of this stuff. It's really cool to see mainstream media talking about this. And it's kind of at the point where, guess what? They cannot ignore it because it's literally this and BSOL. Okay, so the Solana ETF that came out from them also was the second largest in trading volume on its first day for this year. At the time, it was first, but XRPC just passed it. They did 57 million on the first day. So the two of them are in a league of its own, though, as third place is over $20 million away from these two ETFs. So the XRP ETFs and the Solana ETFs are on a whole different level. And from what I was reading in these comments, I believe what it was as well is that Solana apparently hit 57 million with multiple ETF issuers, where XRPC did it with just one. I don't know if that's really true or not. But if true, then that would be massive. It would say a whole lot. So, anyways, pretty big deal there. Crypto overall has been crushed this week, and XRP is down pretty bad. Let's go ahead and look at that real quick. XRP is down to the flow, if you ain't know. So yeah, I'm just gonna be honest with you though. Let's look at this, and let's look at like what's a good one. What's a fair one? AVAX. Very different. Very different scenario. Okay, way different. But we won't even talk about that. Okay, so with the total AUM after its first day for XRPC, the new ETF, it was just above 250 million. This achievement is a reflection of the immense demand from retail and institutional traders who have been desiring access to digital assets such as XRP for the past few years. The success is telling, and we look forward to seeing XRPC continue to serve as a unique opportunity to access XRP. All right, so somebody said the XRP army showed once again that they don't mess around. There was plenty of social media activity leading into this launch, and the community came out in full force. More than 58 million in its first day trading volume. That's impressive, but given the momentum behind XRP's ecosystem, it wasn't necessarily unexpected. Hanley said that XRP is one of the digital assets with real-world use cases, and Ripple continues to expand its business line. So wait a minute. Okay, so Jake Hanley is the managing director and senior portfolio specialist at Teucrium Investment Advisors, which launched the first ever XRP-based ETF in April, the 2X Long XRP ETF. Okay, and he said, frankly, none of it surprised him. Now, I believe those are futures ETFs. Okay, so that's the difference there. And if you don't know the difference, you gotta watch Memes and Markets. You have to subscribe to Memes and Markets, and you have to join us live because we go live every Tuesday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. The link is in the description. And if you're watching right now, I need you to go and subscribe to Memes and Markets. It's the first link in the description of this. If you go there and you subscribe and you join us live, we will absolutely be answering your questions. We'll be talking about a lot of this stuff in depth, and we have such incredible fun conversations. And on Tuesday, we even have a guest coming in. So if you want to get up on the guests, and the guests are going to be crazy moving forward, I'm going to tell you right now, if you guys pull up, we're going to get some really crazy guests. The more that you pull up, the more you're going to see some really cool guests and have the chance to actually get your questions answered because we're still so early in that podcast. Click the link in the description. I'm talking to you. Click the link in the description to join the Memes and Market podcast. I will shill it all night until you go and you click that link and subscribe to Memes and Markets. Now, back to what we were talking about. So who is this guy? TU Cream? I don't know, right? This is my first time actually looking. So they are doing ETFs from agriculture to crypto and beyond. Not your typical ETFs. They seek to provide investors access to alternative markets from cornfields to crypto, helping broaden exposure to in the pursuit of portfolio resilience. So it looks like they provide ETFs for the alternative asset space. And I find that to be quite fascinating. Let's see if we can find their AUM. I mean, I know we can. So FINRA's broker check. What you guys know about that broker check? We won't do that right now. I'm just going to look up their AUM. Okay, so they are an investment advisor registered with the SEC, which means they probably have at least over $100 million in management. Oh, come on. I know I should be able to find that pretty easily. Looks like they're sitting at somewhere around $123 million in assets under management. Now, for an investment advisor, that's not a massive amount of money, but it puts them in the league of being a nationally registered investment advisor. And so they were the ones who were launching some of those like multi-leveraged XRP ETFs. And as we can see here, he also believes that there's a real world use case behind this XRP asset. So maybe we can also look at who Jake Hanley really is. Let's see who he really is real quick. Oh, that gave me some weird info. People's United Bank. He used to work at Merrill Lynch, Ameriprise, Series 4. Let me see, it's 24, Series 3. He's a principal. Okay, nothing too crazy there, but we will keep an eye on that. And ladies and gentlemen, other than that, let's see. Yeah, we've got crazy amounts of ETFs that have already been filed that aren't spot ETFs, but the spot ETFs are about to start rolling in as well. And I also saw that Canary is likely to hit pause on new ETF filings after launching XRP. And the firm CEO said it has filed everything that falls under the generic listing standards as SEC approval barriers remain high. So basically, until they get more clarity on like what the SEC is going to want them to list or want them to be able to list, then they will hold off after launching an XRP ETF, which is wow. Okay, yeah. So just get that across the finish line, and then we're good. All right. Well, we'll figure out, once the regulatory requirements are a little bit more clear, then we'll continue with the rest. So you're telling me that the regulatory requirements are clear enough for you to launch the XRP ETF now? So that's where we're at in the market? Okay, word. So we got CNBC reporting on this. I mean, at this point, they tend to touch on these types of topics and stuff, but that's pretty much the word, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Waffle Fry. Jeff Johns, thank you so much. Super, super excited to chat with you there. Cross Central. Somebody asked, what's my favorite book? Top 3 books. Cross Central, you're really not wrong. Like, it's definitely one of my top books. It's definitely one of my top books. Let me give you guys a top 3. They're not all behind me. It's not going to be what you think it is. It's not going to be any finance stuff. My favorite books are not finance books. My favorite books are things that are either about like communication / like psychology, or maybe like stuff in personal development. Yeah, dude, I'm sorry. I just Think and Grow Rich is one of my favorite books ever. Anything from Napoleon Hill, guys. Those are my favorite books. Napoleon Hill, Napoleon Hill, Napoleon Hill. Dave Washington said, "What up, Keith? What up, Dave?" Waffle Fry said, "You the man, big dog. You the man, Waffle." I'm super excited. Yeah, Novice Dreamer said, "Guess the guest." Yeah, for real, for real. It's gonna be someone cool. It's not anyone super massive, but it's definitely someone very cool for this next one. And eventually, yeah, they will be some crazy guests. And y'all be sleeping on Ben. Somebody was on my comments the other day, like sleeping on Ben. And I'm gonna be real with y'all, like Ben has a very unique lens. And the cool thing is like he's very like low key about what he does. But he runs social media for like a lot of the people that you and I that we look up to, right? So um it's very interesting to see like the seat that he sits in and his grip on like behavioral psychology and internet psychology and internet behavior. So I highly respect Ben and the opinions that he brings and how he shows up on this podcast because he has an entirely different lens and angle through which he can see the things that are happening. And that's why we talk about stuff like NFTs over there a little bit more because he understands the culture side of crypto and whatnot. And then there's the NFTs and the memes and like all that stuff that I typically just stay away from because I don't get it. I don't know it. Right. Um, but he's got a really unique lens on that. Someone asked me, "What's the different story between AVAX and XRP you hinted on in your life?" Yeah, I guess I get a little bit, I get a little bit, I guess, ahead of like, I think that I'm explaining things and I'm not. So let me try to actually pull this up side by side to the best that I can. AVAX and USD. Put it percent and scale. And then can I make it a candle or no? I'm not a trading view expert. Let me try to do this. You know who is though? Robert from Infronomics. Let me just shout him out real quick, dude, because he's awesome. Infronomics, guys. If you guys want the like deep, like macroeconomic stuff, check this dude out. Straight up. Straight up. I'm just gonna be real. He's fantastic. I learned a ton from him. Let's see real quick. So Bag Woman said, "Keith, love your knowledge. I'm already sub to memes. Thanks for sharing in this forum." Well, thank you for subbing to Memes and Markets and for being around. Seriously, like for me, guys, Memes and Markets is kind of my dream project. It's the thing that I am just super excited about and that I will continue to go super hard for because it just allows me to express myself in the way that I feel is the most natural to me. In that, um, yeah, it's me being able to express myself in a place where I feel like I can talk about the stuff that I really care about and from the level at which I really care about it. And there's nothing more satisfying and fun than that. So I appreciate you guys for supporting me in any of that stuff for real. Um, what's up with Coinbase's new coin Monad? I haven't heard of that. And then I'm sorry for not mentioning the Coinbase the Sui USD. I actually haven't heard of that yet. So I'm gonna have to look at that. I hadn't heard of Sui USD. To be honest with you. I'm also really not seeing it there. Okay, so Cross Central. What's this hype around November 22nd? Is that like the ISO thing? I think that might be the ISO 20022 update. I'm not hyped up about that. I don't know for sure. Cross Central said, "Bro, why you be sneakily making new channels?" um, yeah, I'm basically trying to like when I first started this channel, I started getting a bunch of attention on the Big Beautiful Bill video. And that video was honestly for me, it was more negative than I would have wanted my entire image to be. And so from that point forward, I realized very quickly that I needed to like have different forums to express different sides of myself. And that's why I immediately created that second channel. And that second channel, I realized, okay, this is another like aspect of me that I can put out. And I'm continuing to find different formats to express myself without annoying the people who are here for something specific. Right. So that's why. Um, I hope that makes sense, Cross. And I'm glad I appreciate you checking all that stuff out. It's interesting too, because like a lot of you are going to see this other stuff and then like basically it'll be super interesting to see like someone like yourself, Cross. There's also the life of man who pulls up to like everything. And that's always super cool to see like at what point do you guys like stop rocking with what it is that I'm putting out. um so I appreciate all of the love and the support on the stuff that I'm doing. Cause yeah, it's like there's just so many different things. Like you guys see the keyboard behind me. Like that's a big part of my life. Someone was like, Keith, you should make beats. Like, brother, I've been making beats since I was 15 years old. So, you know, um, how can I like do the things that fill me up, like memes and markets, for instance, while still giving people what they want? Um, and providing value to the world. Are alts that are airdropping in a bubble. Random alts are hitting billions FDV, fully diluted value. I haven't been seeing any of those. 102 things to do. What of which projects have you been seeing? What's going on, everybody? It's Friday night. In fact, it's Saturday now. What are y'all up to? I'm super curious. You guys are hanging out like for real heavy right now. I am greatly appreciative of that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I can talk about that stuff forever, Cross Central. Um, yeah, it's like some of the stuff I've connected to this channel, some of this stuff I haven't. What I'm most excited about that you guys might not have seen yet is that I'm actually about to start doing like interviews with people, not interviews, but like street interviews where I go out and I ask people about how they feel about crypto. I want to know what you guys think about that. I'll associate that with this channel. I'll do like a collaboration post so that some of you guys will see it. Whoever like I guess would be into that, it'll probably get served to you. But I didn't want to put that on this channel because I know that it's like it's a very different audience. Like I talk about hardcore deep stuff. Like we're talking about macroeconomics and interest rates and charts and all this stuff. So I know that if I post a video about like people in the street saying ignorant stuff about Bitcoin, like that's not gonna mesh well. So I'm creating a new channel for that. Plus, it allows me to have a little bit more creative freedom on what we do with that exactly. Because we're gonna ask people about crypto, we're gonna ask people about financial literacy in general. I went out and I asked people if they knew who Jerome Powell was. And once again, like this is another fun way for me to create more. Because I'm a very social person. Like I love talking to people. I love meeting people. And so in crypto, it's like that gets narrowed a lot. Like, all right, I have to talk to crypto people and then I have to meet them in person to be able to create that kind of content. Like, I don't know if I'm that social. I don't know if I want to go talk to a bunch of crypto people, right? Like, that's not the entire essence of who I am. So I created this other channel. You guys will start to, I mean, hopefully, if you guys are interested, you'll see it because otherwise, YouTube won't send it to you. Um, but that's gonna be super cool. Is that page where we ask people about crypto? We got some crazy stuff. I was asking people whether they'd want to have $100 or 1 Bitcoin, and we got a lot of people saying $100. And then so today and yesterday, I went to universities where I was asking people pretty much the same kinds of questions, but I went to a really like good university, and I had to up the amount that I was asking them if they would take or not. So I was like, okay, would you want to have $10,000 or a Bitcoin? Because they were just too knowing. They knew what Bitcoin was. So that was kind of funny that as I went to a really good university, that people weren't doing that. All right, so lighter Aster hype. Oh, okay. Lighter. I don't know anything about Aster. I've heard about. I'll be honest, I haven't done the research. And then hype, I really haven't looked at that. Waffle fry, word up, man. I used to be in that life, man, for real. Your thoughts on futures trading? I think futures trading is fantastic. In fact, we talk about that a lot inside of my communities. I am a futures trader. I trade in the futures market. I specifically trade NASDAQ. Terry Harrison said sports betting. LOL. Oh, see, this is another thing that we talk about on that new channel that I'm going to put out. Are people investing and doing sports betting is actually what I felt like was the end result. I was trying to see if people were betting but not investing. But the truth is that it's the same kind of personality type for young people. The people that bet also invest. So that was an interesting find for me. At least, just, some anecdotal evidence. Um, and then Cross Central said, talk about interoperability projects now. I saw that on your X or something. That was hilarious. Oh yeah, yeah. The it's called Funny Money. So yeah, you saw some I put it on Instagram and on X, uh some little highlights of that stuff. So yeah, dude, that it's really funny and we'll see how it ends up performing. Terry Harrison, thoughts on sports betting. Listen. Everybody's got their own thing. I would never. But it's just like with meme coins, maybe. You know what I mean? Like Ben will do meme coins and NFTs. And I'm just like, I'm not gonna touch that game. You know why? Because I don't know it. And I have never been someone who's gonna sit back and watch sports. Like personally, like this is my sport. This is my sport. The markets. So I don't really play that game. I don't do that personally. I used to be way worse than that about it. I used to say I would never bet my hard-earned money, right? But now I think like what I understand is that there is a real hustle to sports betting and betting in general, like gambling and stuff. I think people underestimate what it takes to win. Like if you're not approaching that the way that a professional trader would approach his practice, then you're lacking, if I'm being honest. um, and when I say that, I mean understanding expected value, understanding probability, and embodying that in the decisions that you're making, and making sure that when you take a series of bets over, because it's the same thing, it's the same thing as trading in the short term, right? When you take a series of bets, what is your expected value over time? If you don't know what expected value is in your sports betting, you might just be throwing your money around. Okay. Mr. McMullen said, what are your thoughts on BSV, Bitcoin Satoshi's Vision? It was the Bitcoin before it got hard forked in like 2010. Yeah. Uh, the Craig Wright situation. I don't know if you guys know about Craig Wright. He like went to court and tried to prove that he was Satoshi and he didn't. And then I don't even know what the heck was going on with that. But that was funny because I was like, bro, this dude is crazy. Um, I don't have any thoughts on that stuff, man. I'm just be honest. Like, if everyone came to consensus on forking the network, then they came to consensus on forking the network. I wouldn't bet against that. Like, why would I bet against the consensus of the like that is what the power of Bitcoin is that the consensus of the network is what makes it work, right? That's what makes it valuable, is that consensus mechanism. So if people say I want to fork, then all right, bro, we forked. Dave Washington said, finance videos got me hooked. The perspectives that you give, the way you choose your words and explanations, definitely attention grabbing. Keep them coming. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Is that Japanese? It looks like Japanese characters. That's awesome. I just finished off the week, the SME week, with a 3K win on NASDAQ. Very cool. What strategies do you use? Oh, the CME. The CME week with a 3K win on NASDAQ. Very cool. Yeah, what strategy do you use? Now a streamer said, I feel the same way. People that bet on poker and make money. Now a streamer say, I just suck at it. LOL. Yeah, it's just like, I'm just not going to play that game. David said, what time is it where you at? Dog, it's 1 a.m. I need to get off here. I ain't going to lie to y'all. I'm actually leaving the country tomorrow, so I'm lacking. I need to like get my life together real quick. Mr. McMullen said, arguably the Bitcoin network doesn't work too slow. Does Bitcoin and Satoshi's Vision solve that problem? I don't know that it solves that problem. So I answered in the live, by the way. Did you hear that? Okay, so what else we got? Doran. Oh, okay, Doran. I use ICT concepts. It's been the most profitable for me, in my opinion. Let's go. Are there any particular people that you follow, or do you just follow ICT? Mr. McMullen said apparently BSV, Bitcoin Satoshi's Vision, does solve that problem. Yeah, I haven't properly looked into it. I'll be honest. I'll be honest, guys. I don't even know what that fork was. I just know that if it was forked, it was forked. You feel me? I remember Ethereum Classic as well, and I used to. I mean, I remember. Who remembers the days? Who was around when Coinbase had it had Bitcoin, like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, and Bitcoin Cash. And I think that was it. Maybe XRP, honestly, was on there too. Cross Central, TBH, most of crypto low key gambling on sports and going to the casino. That's a fact, brother. That's the hard fact of the matter. Like, let's just be real for a second. I hate it, but it's true. Bitcoin Gold. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I remember. I remember that one too. Oh man. Oh man. Yeah, I haven't even looked at that kind of stuff. I haven't looked at the price of Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum Classic, BSV, Bitcoin Gold. Man, that's a throwback to me, bro. Like that was like once again like 2017, 20 to 2019 era crypto. Like when you had not a million different tokens that existed. Um so Doran. Yeah. He said strictly ICT. Too many people take his strategies, tweak them a bit, and then claim it. Yeah, that stuff is crazy, bro. Like the amount of egotistical people in the ICT SMC community is just absurd. And they are unhinged, bro. It's crazy. Bitcoin Cash is the legit fork, said Moneyless World. Yeah, I mean, I'm just laughing at the Craig Wright situation. Novice Dreamer, you kind of got to follow the developers after the fork, in my opinion. Fair enough, bro. Fair enough, bro. I'll be honest and say that I'm ignorant on the forking. I'll be real. Moneyless World said Bitcoin Cash is the real Bitcoin. Mr. McMullen said full throwing back, eh? Yeah, man. Moneyless World said P2P Cash. So Bitcoin Cash is the real P2P Cash. Word. Word. Because my thing is, yeah, yeah, because Bitcoin as peer-to-peer cash as it is, man, I don't know about all that. I don't know about all that. Um, cool, bro. Gary said, "What's your take on lending Bitcoin in the future? Right now, there's too much counterparty risk with these DeFi projects. If you're going to, you're talking about lending BCC, not taking a loan off of it. I mean, there's always going to be counterparty risk if you're going to lend something, right? I think the only question is to what level of security and or insurance do you have upon that lending that you're doing? What collateral is in place? See, that's why I think for DeFi, like an over collateralized loan based on a smart contract, like I'd question, then you might not believe in this technology all that much. And I think that's fair. It is primitive. We're still definitely super early. This is like the Windows like XP or whatever version of crypto, right? Uh, so, you know, I think that's fair. You guys are saying Monero's awesome, hands down. Hey guys, go for it. Go for it. You know, I do think that if you believe in privacy, then Monero makes sense. Point blank, period. Jeff Johns said yielding. I can't believe y'all are still here. For real. Uh so appreciative for y'all. Um, Needle said, "Did you hear about Buffett buying Google?" No, I did not hear that. I'm starting to wonder if we aren't in a bubble. Yeah, I didn't hear that. That's funny. Everybody's like, "Big Warren Buffett sitting on the most cash ever." Is he buying? Is he buying Google? Let me see. Let's see what's going on. Berkshire added $4 billion Apple stake and further paired Apple stock. Oh, excuse me, Alphabet stake. Berkshire added $4 billion Alphabet stake and further paired Apple stock. Wow, so they sold off some Apple and bought $4 billion of Alphabet. Now, my family members, when people ask me what bet to make in the AI space, considering the fact that we don't have access to these private companies like OpenAI or Perplexity or Claude or any of that stuff, we can't buy that, right? So my big thing is, if I had to go in on anybody, and I'm probably just super biased because of where I'm at right now, I'm on their platform right now, y'all. I am betting on Google day in and day out. I don't care. You know why though? The real reason why though is because they have the everyday person. They have the everyday person. We're talking about the largest search engine in the world being Google and the second largest search engine in the world being YouTube. Maybe that's changed to some degree or whatever, but we're talking about long form content. The amount of value that is driven on this platform, I I I'm about to like blow a gasket at how I can't find the words to describe the amount of value that YouTube provides to the world. All right. The amount of commerce that already flows on this platform without some crazy implementation of AI is groundbreaking. And I'm talking about YouTube specifically. Like, I would value YouTube higher than Google.com. Because with Google.com, technically you can find a YouTube video, don't get me wrong. But the people that are like users of YouTube, the amount of money that they're spending in this ecosystem is crazy. People sitting on this live stream, you guys sitting here on this live stream for an hour and a half, for like the value that that provides to the world. And this is a small little tiny little stream. There are people out there with thousands and thousands of people sitting in their stream right now talking about whatever, right? And when people are congregating in that kind of a way from anywhere in the world in one time, the amount of influence that that has is like untouchable. And so I don't even like we're not even talking about AI right now. I'm just talking about as a business. I think that YouTube is probably the strongest business on the internet, and it's growing massively. And that is one division of Alphabet. Period. I'll leave it there. Um, Somebody said, yeah, that's cool, Needles. I didn't see that. So thank you for putting us on to that. Novice, what is your stance on OpenAI spending? Ooh. Oh, because there was this thing where they like, what was it? They raised the 4 bill. No, 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 no. They were gonna spend like 4 bill or something. I don't even remember. What was that? What was that, Novice? Because I saw it, but I've kind of forgot it. Mr. McMullen said, "Good content, man. You hecka wise. I appreciate that. Uh, really just learning alongside you guys, for real." Doran said, "I'm at work chilling, watching your stream. That's so cool, man." A1 Boy said, "Sup from Australia." What's up, mate? I've never been there. I've never been there. What part of Australia are you from? I've met some really cool people from there, though. Waffle Fry said, "Google ain't going nowhere, bro." Man, tell them. Diego, Blue Summit Capital. Keith, your video on the bond markets changed my life, believe it or not. Thank you, man. It's a pleasure to live at a time where we can platform intelligent minds. Wow. Thank you. Crazy serendipitous moment today. This was crazy. So I was on a campus and I was interviewing some kids, asking them about the future of AI and stuff like this. And at the very end of one of my interviews, and this guy was a genius. He actually went to Yale, but he was just visiting a friend at this campus. And um, at the end, usually I'll be like, check out my YouTube. This is it. If you want to follow or stay along, like here's the channel that you can look at. And dude, as I walked off, he was like, "Yo, I already saw your Bond video." I was like, "Oh snap, that's so cool." Yeah, that Bond video was crazy, Diego, because what happened was like when as that video started to go off. And by the way, I don't know if you guys saw, but there's a ton of people that have copied that video. Like even last week, somebody else with like 200,000 subscribers like completely copied the video. They'll take the title. Taking the title is one thing. Like it was a great title. It was an untouchable title. So I don't blame you for trying to steal it. And it worked even if you still stole the title. It still worked for you. I know, because it's a banger title. But then there's another guy called Lockstock who straight up took the entire script. He like changed like a couple of words, but each line is the same line. And he just threw in some animations and he's got like 800,000 views on it. So he definitely like literally actually took money out of my pocket. Like it was cute when he only had like 10,000 views, but he actually took money out of my pocket with that. Anyways, there's a ton of people that have completely ripped that video. There was a ton of people that did it, but he like completely ripped the whole thing, and that's probably why it did so well. But anyways, that video when I put it out and it just started going off, like people that I knew from the past were like reaching out to me. They're like, "Keith, like I see your YouTube, like did it." I was like, "Dang, like okay, I guess this is actually reaching the mainstream." But yeah, even today on this campus, I met somebody who had watched my video, and like that's a crazy moment. He didn't know he didn't recognize me or anything, which obviously makes sense. You watch one video from someone, you're not really necessarily gonna um, recognize them, but just the fact that people have actually seen it. And Diego, for you to leave a comment like that's really meaningful to me, for real, man. Houston Will said Google has the best AI talent. I bet they do. Because where else would you go if you were the best? And you wanted to really have that infrastructure and have that investment that people can make in you, there would be nowhere else that I would go. Not to have that same real world impact. Like the thing is, if you work with Microsoft, like you're gonna work with enterprise, so you could change like businesses very hard. But with Google, like you can literally change the entire world in an instant. So I would go there if I was the top talent. You got the most money, you got the most possibility for impact, and so on and so forth. Dude, what are you doing? Diego says, I'm not even kidding. I can tell you a bit more about my personal story and some mental health issue that were holding me back professionally. The way you explained it and the time it reached me was perfect. LinkedIn me. I was gonna say follow me on IG and we can chat, man. Um, but I will also oh shit, hold on, let me excuse my language. It's my first time I ever slipped up on you guys. Yeah, yep, yep. Oh, you're in Miami, my dude. We are connected. Did you go to Miami? FIU. What up? What up, G? Okay. John said facts. I'm not sure what it was. Waffle Fry said, I also pay for premium too. So it's a testament to how good the platform is. Yeah. See, now this is wrong of me. I actually have not paid for premium yet. I've complained about ads for so long, but I actually never did. I have not bought premium yet. I don't know what that says about me. I think it says something about me though. Because like I can, like there used to be like a money thing, like, oh, I don't know, I want to pay for that, but like I think I could pay for it now. I think now that I'm getting paid, I don't from YouTube, like I don't mind watching their ads because we're getting some of that value back. I don't know. There's something weird about that that needs to be studied. Um, I wonder what you said, A1. Why'd you retract your statement like that? Cross Central said, do you think that with decentralized platforms that people can create and store files or data on will change in the future, or do you think they will adapt? That people can create and store files or data on will change in the future. Oh, absolutely. People can create and store data will change in the future. What do you think? Do I think that the traditional companies will adapt? Is that what you're saying? Do I think that like the Googles and the Metas of the world will adapt, or will decentralized platforms take over? Is that kind of what you're saying? If this is what you're asking, then you have to come to Memes and Markets. We literally talk about this all the time. Nathan Ty said, "Hey Keith, what do you think of Cass? Would like to hear your thoughts." Um, I just haven't done the deep dive. What I think it is it's a DAG, like a proof of work DAG. Is it a proof of work DAG? Yeah, that is what it is. Mhm. Listen, I like a proof of work DAG, but I haven't done the studying. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. But it comes up all the time. I used to think it was just because of like bots, but I guess there is a real thing with it, and I just haven't properly looked at it, man. I'll be honest. Do you think the Chinese yuan will take over USD for world currency soon? They stack in gold, and maybe back at 1 to 1. I don't know, man. I don't know about that stuff. See, I can only comment on like the things that I see there. I would not want to see that, but I don't think that that's impossible. Bruce James said the Bond video is legendary. And then Nico Flores Music said, LOL, chill, bro. You're not the first dude on the interwebs talking about bonds. Yeah, I definitely didn't make that claim. Uh, definitely didn't make that claim. But what I would definitely come back at you and say is that I wonder what your point is. Like, what is your point actually? Because all I pointed out was that people literally stole my entire video. Like, this is like if you can go and look at these people's comments in their videos, and what you see now is what people are saying on those people's videos is they're saying, "Why have I seen this video 5 or 6 times on the internet?" Because they're literally copying my video word for word. So I don't know what you're saying, but other people know what's up. So, A1 boys, I'm Nigerian and have been living in Australia for 20 years. Oh, wow. That's super interesting. Very cool. Doran said, YT famous, the algo loves you. Ha. I remember when you only had like 200, 300 subs. If you're around from there, like, yeah, dude, this has been a crazy, crazy journey. And like now, I mean, I guess it's normal now, but it's still crazy. Um, like the first, I was looking at how, like, on the very first community post that I did, I was like thanking everyone for 500 subscribers. And then it was like a week later, I was thanking everyone for 5,000 subscribers. And then it was like, all right, I need to stop like doing this because I don't know at what point I'm supposed to thank everybody anymore. It's like we just keep hitting crazier and crazier numbers. So once we hit 100,000, obviously, I was also very grateful for that. Bruce James, big up Keith, South Africa here. Shout out to South Africa. Shout out. David said, "How much do you bench, bro?" I ain't I ain't that big. I'm a small person, so I might look big, but I'm a small person. uh, how much do I bench? I don't know. I haven't even been in a real gym. I've been using like a Smith machine lately. So, Waffle Fries said, "Shout out to Diego. Cheers to health." Yeah, seriously, Diego. Health is wealth. I don't know if you guys have seen that video on my channel. It's an old one. It's a very, very low fidelity video, but um, health is wealth. And yeah, dude, I'm happy to hear that you're doing better. And yeah, we'll definitely have to connect further, Diego. Logic said, "What did you think about today's market closure going into next week?" Um, I mean, stocks. Let's be real, right? Like, let's be real, because everybody's like, "Oh no, oh no, the stock market is down like 2%." And I'm like, yeah, the market will go down 2% every once in a while. I mean, it needs to do that, right? So, all right, fair. It's down 6.7% from the peak. But like, it's up 56% from the trough. So I'm cool with us having anywhere up until, yeah, I mean, we can pull back, y'all. We can pull back. But the question is like, what does that mean? Like, who really is going to be impacted by that? If you guys are doing the stuff that really matters when it comes to investing, which is just like DCAing, then like none of this stuff really matters. None of it really matters. Dave Washington, no premium. Humble about it. Midwest native. GI here. Waffle Fry said, premium just helps me focus. Honestly, I have a basic plan on everything else because I need the break. Waffle Fry said, do you like the book The Republic by Plato? I haven't read that book. Nava said, any portfolio tracking management app software you recommend? Oof, man, let me build one for you. Because that is one of the things that I actually would love to build out. Okay. Hey, man, I'm not sure if you've covered it before, but your thoughts on ICP? um, I think it's probably questionable at what level we need like decentralized compute, right? Like the actual compute itself, the actual like processing, I think is what they're doing. You could explain it to me a little bit better, and maybe I could tell you. But I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. Nathan Ty said your videos definitely very informative. I appreciated you. Keep it up, bro. Thank you, Nathan. For real. Bruce James, USA for crypto and China for gold. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what it looks like. It looks like we're trying to like circumvent what they're doing by going all in on crypto. Mr. McMullen said Nico Flores music troll, man. Don't worry. Yeah, I hope so, because I'm like, bruh. Like, it's a different thing to completely steal my stuff. Sam I Am said, yep. What up, Sam I Am? What up, Sam? Sam pulls up to memes and markets pretty much every Tuesday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. And we reply to the stuff that he says. Yo, I gotta get off here. I'm tripping. Waffle Fry said that Andre Jick guy playfully admits that he copies the Ice Coffee Hours content and Graham Stephan personal channels content and regurgitates it. LOL. I mean, yeah, like it's also like those guys have also not those guys. Andre Jick also took one of our thumbnails and titles once too, and like it's one thing once again to like copy my script word for word versus like taking the thumbnail or the title and like talking about the same thing and giving your own spin on it. You know what I mean? Like, look, we're all out here taking information and digesting it and providing our own takes. So I don't, I get that. Don't acknowledge silly comments you know your worth. Yeah, I mean, I guess luckily I don't get a whole lot of that stuff. I really don't. And I guess that's why it still touched me because I'm like, I haven't talked about that ever either with anyone. I've only just in my personal life dealt with the fact that someone copied my stuff, so I just never. I guess I don't look at what you guys say on it because I haven't heard anything about it. But it's crazy though. When I went to that one guy's video, I won't even. I mean, I don't even remember his name. It was crazy because his whole comment section was just coming at him. Like they were like, "Dude, like this literally has been done 5 times already." Blah, blah, blah. Like 10+ people said that. I'm like, "Whoa!" Like so, at least these people are seeing that because that's why they don't know probably who did it first, but at least they're seeing that people are just copying it though. 102 things to do. What buy spot if you can buy 1.5 perps? Oh, why buy spot if you can buy 1.5 perps? Oof. I don't know if that's supposed to be funny or not, but I found that funny. Mr. McMillan said, "Thoughts on bull market? Everyone's been waiting for LOL." Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a crazy market. Crazy market. I'm not gonna lie. Waffle, there's too much nihilism in the world. We gotta cheer for something. Yeah, man. P said, also, dude, thoughts on James Wynn? James Wynn. James Wynn. I actually don't know him just yet. Oh, this is not a, this is a trader. Oh, yeah, I don't know anything about that actually. If you read The Republic, it might change your entire investment strategy. Oh, snap. Well, Waffle, I guess I'll have to do it. JH said, hey, what up? Thoughts on today being the MSTR bottom? Ooh, I haven't been looking at MSTR. I'm not going to lie. A land far away said, my man Keith D. What up? What up? What up? Diego just shot you a message. Awesome, man. Great to catch you live. It's getting later here. Gonna hop off soon. Yeah, no worries, dude. We'll catch up. And thank you for popping in for real. Bruce James said it's tough legislate against plagiarism. Yeah, like that's what because I started reaching out to like my people that I've man, there's this one guy, he's awesome. His name is Kevin. He reached out to me like right when I first started getting like probably my first 10K-ish subs. And he just started putting me on game. And like he was one of the people that I reached out to when that was happening. He was like, dude, like it's a battle you don't even want to fight. Even he sent me this video from a guy named Legal Eagle. I don't know if you guys know Legal Eagle, but he's huge and he was dealing with something like this and it was way worse even where like people were like mass copying his stuff and just reposting like his actual videos and it's still he wasn't able to get them to like take that stuff down. So I'm like, man, that sucks. uh there was Waffle Fry said, bro, all they had to do is take the transcript from your video and having an offline AI summarize and reword your transcript enough to the point to where it feels authentic. LOL. And brother, I guess that's what he did. I mean, I guess because honestly, it was like it didn't even feel like he did that. It just felt like he literally took the whole thing. But yeah. We probably should, man. I gotta stop talking about that now that it's out there because I just hadn't said anything to the public about that, but it is happening and apparently it's happening, not just happened. Drew said, how much do you know about BitTensor? I actually don't, brother. It keeps on coming up. It gets to a point to where I need to do the work. I need to look at this SUI USD. I need to look into Caspa, and I need to look at BitTensor. Like everyone keeps asking me about it, so I need to stop lacking. Waffle Fry, are you a laptop or desktop kind of guy? The problem is, Waffle Fry, is that I am a nomadic person. So I would love to have a desktop, but I have no idea where I would put it because then I'd have to take it with me from country to country, and that wouldn't work. Omar, what books you recommend? Top three. We kind of did this earlier. Think and Grow Rich and anything by Napoleon Hill. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I got to sign off here. Oh my goodness. I am super, super grateful for you all. And y'all, I'm about to make a really big journey tomorrow. So this background and all this is going to be gone for quite some time. And if any of you guys are in Southeast Asia, let me know. Let me know. And this is a crazy moment. I'll be honest. I am super grateful for all of you. Y'all are the reason that I'm able to do what I'm about to do. And I'm excited for this next chapter, this next phase of life. And I'm happy to have you guys with me, really. 153 of you sitting here chatting is crazy to me. Like, crazy to me. 4 months ago, this channel didn't even exist. It didn't even exist. And you guys have come through and helped to change my life completely. Super grateful for that. And there's so much more to come. Definitely about to really start trying a lot of new stuff, doing a lot more of these live streams, and yeah, trying to find ways to provide value. So let's see. What made you get into personal finance? honestly, I just started looking at that stuff super early in my life. I was trying to figure out how to not, well, first off, how to pay my parents back for the things that they did for me, and how to also potentially not live the life that they live, very corporate heavy work, and that didn't look like what I wanted to do. So I was like, all right, well, I need to build a business, and that led to me figuring out that okay, probably need to learn about money in general, and man, that's how I got into it. Trying to make money, uh, and making a lot of mistakes along that way. Yeah, Doran. He said, "Late Keith, have a good night. Peace, peace, brother. Peace, brother. If you haven't already, subscribe to Memes and Markets. Subscribe to Memes and Markets. That is my dream, guys, is to have that podcast continue to take off. So, link in the description. Subscribe to Memes and Markets if you haven't already. Good travels, bro. Thank you, brother. Arun, good morning from Switzerland. I enjoy your content a lot. I would wonder what part of Switzerland you're in. That's so cool. That's so cool. Omar, thank you, bro. Sam, I am. You should be peed off. Yeah, man. Yeah. VI said, be careful. Thank you, man. I will be careful. Much love from Toronto. Safe travels. Be well, brother. Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's coming up. Yep. Happy New Year's, Christmas, Thanksgiving, everybody. And I have a relationship with you guys where I just, I don't even want to sign off, but I got to do it. So I will. And if you're watching the recording, thank you for watching the recording as well. I'll see y'all on Tuesday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. We have a guest on Memes and Markets on Tuesday. So pull up, show him some love. I already just gave you a little bit of extra there. Show our guest some love. And I'll forever be grateful for all of y'all. Peace.